Hey everybody. All right, so I'm up in the barn today. I needed to come in the barn to do my filming because it is so windy out that there's too much feedback with the wind. So I am trying to do a video about a horse's sight. And little Peaches is standing in front of me right now, aka Red Bull. She is the half niece of my mare named True, and she's gonna kind of help us out a little bit today with explaining a horse's vision. So horses have two types of visions. They have monocular vision, which means they can see on both sides of their head, okay? And then they also have binocular vision, like a set of binoculars, which means that they can see in front of them. So like right there, she can see me with both eyes, okay? But if I am right here on her forehead, in front of her forehead, she can't see anything. So there's a blind spot with their binocular vision, and it's a small area right in front of both eyes, like kind of right about here, that does not allow them to see anything. If I get further back, she can see me with both eyes, but the binocular vision is quite limited. The closer you are, the harder it is for a horse to see. That is why a lot of horses, when people come at them with a hand, a lot of horses are head shy because they know that something is coming toward them, but they can't really see it. They don't understand it. And in order for that horse to actually see what is coming at them head on, they have to tilt their head, just like she just did. She kind of tilted to the side to see what's coming at her head on. So that's why a lot of people do not recommend that you just walk up to a horse and go right for its head. But unfortunately, that's the human inclination, is that's the first place they want to reach for. But that can actually be really frightening for a horse because they literally can't see what's coming at them. So a kinder way to approach a horse, well, actually, there's the horse handshake. You just want to put your hand out like that, not fingers, but give them the back of your hand, let them smell you. And then a good way to do it is just kind of to come in on the side if the horse allows you to do it. But that's a whole different video. So today we're talking about a horse's vision. We've got monocular and binocular, or binocular. Binocular is the front vision. Monocular is a 350-degree field of vision. This horse can see almost around her entire body with her monocular vision. The only place she cannot see, and watch how I do this, I'm going down her back and I'm coming behind her. She is not my horse, okay? So as I'm walking behind her, I want her to know I'm walking behind her. So directly behind her tail, she does not have a field of vision back there. So you do have to be really careful with that. But otherwise, both those eyes give her a monocular field of vision almost all the way around her body, which is, there's that wind again, which is exceptionally helpful for horses because they are prey animals, okay? And having that field of vision really, really helps them to keep themselves alive, quite frankly. I mean, that's how they stay alive, is with that exceptional vision that they've got. So they also have very poor depth perception unless they do a head tilt. Like if they're looking down at a puddle or something on the ground, they have extremely poor depth perception. So oftentimes you will see them tilt their head one way or another to try and assess that depth perception. That's why a lot of horses, when you're on them, and even if there's just a little puddle, they do not want to go across that puddle. They will freak out because they don't know how deep it is. And it seems really silly to us human beings because we're like, good God, it's a 3-foot puddle. What's the big deal? I'm going to step into this stall just to get out of this wind. Hi, baby doll. But you can see she's like super pushy. She doesn't have a whole lot of boundaries, but she's not my horse. And, they haven't really worked with her a whole lot. She's just kind of been free to do whatever she wants. But anyway, so yeah, poor depth perception. And then as far as being able to see color, horses can see color, but it is limited compared to humans. Horses have what's called dichromatic vision. Okay, and that means that they have two types of color receptors or cones, and it gives them the ability to see shades of blue and yellow, but it's very difficult for them to distinguish between like reds and greens. Reds and greens would come across to a horse, they'd be more likely to appear as gray or brown. And, they can't really pull out those deeper colors of reds and greens, but blues and yellows, yes, they can somewhat see. Now, I will say that horses have awesome motion detection. That is what they rely on. They rely on motion detection and contrast a lot more than they rely on color. So, in other words, if they're looking out across a field and they see a contrast of like a dark shape moving or something like that, then they're going to react far more to that than whether it's, purple or green or whatever. They are looking for motion, and they are looking for contrast in something that they are not used to. And again, prey animals, so that is why they're looking for that motion. And then something that is different in the field. I mean, you can put up a water tub in the field that wasn't there, and they will certainly react to that. So they also have, now come on, back off. They also have a really good night vision, because they have this thing called tapetum lucidum, and it's a reflective layer in their eye. And it gives them really good night vision and peripheral vision. Excellent peripheral vision, much better than a human. And that also helps to make up for the lack of color perception. So, horses are, well, again, as I've covered, they're prey. They are not predator. So their eyesight is critically important to them for those types of things, and being able to pick up on that motion, that contrast, having that night vision, all of that is extremely helpful to them. But just always try to keep in mind that when you are approaching a horse, especially head on, or you're working with a horse and you're trying to get them to see something head on, they simply cannot do it because of this binocular vision. Okay. They do have a blind spot right here. So that's something to definitely be aware of. Also be aware that when you're circling this horse, you think that their head's way up there and they can't see where to kick you. You are totally wrong. I mean, a horse can kick a fly off that wall and they know exactly where it is, because they can sense that movement. They know exactly where to kick. And trust me, I've had a horse kick me smack in the hand because I was holding something that he didn't like, and he was in front of me, his back end was to me, and he kicked me right in the hand that was holding, and I dropped it. So trust me, they know how to aim, they know exactly what they're doing, and definitely don't underestimate them. Now let's talk a little bit about horse behavior. This horse's nose is literally on my phone. Okay, this for me, with my, if she were my horse, which she's not, but this is a little pushy. Okay, I am cornered in a stall here. I am back up against the stall, and she's being extremely pushy for me. I don't particularly love that. So I'm just going to kind of, ask her to back off a little bit, because I don't like being wedged up against a wall in a stall, especially with a strange horse. She's not being mean. Okay, this energy, the ears are side to side. She's not being mean. She's not being aggressive. But still, this is my space, and I don't want her. So now I feel a little more comfortable because I've got room to move. She doesn't need to be smack up in my face like that. And I mean, I love her to death. She's a doll baby, but I just, I'm just asking her, hey, can you respect my space a little bit more? And see, the head's coming down, the eye is getting softer, and she's relaxing into that. So it's okay to ask your horses, or any horse really, to have boundaries, just like you would ask people to have boundaries. I mean, you don't want a person just approaching your space, crowding into you, and forcing themselves on you in any way, shape, or form. And it's the same with these animals. The good part is animals usually respect your cues. Big sigh, and we got a lick and a chew there. So she understands the assignment. And a lot of humans will not respect that at all. They just keep pushing, or they can't read the room. But horses are so sentient and so telepathic, and they are extremely responsive to energy. So They definitely know how to read the room if you give them the right, if you give them the right information. And again, I'm just going to kind of bump her away because she doesn't need to be hitting my camera. She doesn't need to be like it's my camera, it's my phone, and she doesn't need to be trying to chew on it and bump it and bite it and all that. And again, she's a young horse, so she's mouthy, she wants to play, and that's totally fine. I mean, I love the soft eye there. Again, she's not being aggressive. She just wants to hang with me. She wants attention. She doesn't understand what I'm doing. And I'm just kind of letting her know that, these are my boundaries, and that's kind of how we're going to roll here. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.